and amplifies their echoes to inspire a new generation to rise to the occasion. Dr. Janet Dewar Bell has crafted a vibrant anthology of resistance and resilience, or iconic words from the past ignite the fires of justice for the future. And after that conversation we just had with Nancy McClain about what they are trying to do on the right to create a new Confederacy, the timing for a conversation about rising could not be more propitious. I am delighted to have Dr. Janet Dewar Bell back on this program. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Tavis, and it's always a pleasure and an honor to be with you. And your last guest, Ms. McClain, was very sobering.
Yes.
And the women in my book, Blackbird Singing, really their inspiring speeches from the Civil War to the 21st century are sobering. Their words are sobering, but they're full of hope, and their prophecy really is something that if we listen to, it's not too late. But, as the doomsday clock keeps going, less than two minutes now, I think I saw the other day.
Yeah.
We really have to pay attention to what these women have said and are saying.
Tell me about the book Blackbird Singing.
Okay, the book is really it's a taste. I say that because it's 28 speeches, and there's so many more things that black women had to say. Like you always say, we have a lot to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot to talk about, but we didn't have the opportunity. And I've expanded the definition of speeches because some of these things were writings that were not actually said in a large public setting, as we would call speeches, because we were inhibited from doing that, forbidden from doing that, and criticized for doing that. Seems like familiar themes, if I might say. So what inspired this book was listening to, first of all, my lifetime of social justice activism, which you know about, but from someone who's seen all of the great social justice movements of our times and who's been involved in those, I really wanted to highlight what black women had to say over the years. Our songs of freedom are not recent. We've been doing that since slavery. We knew that we wanted to achieve freedom. It was not just about, as a friend of mine says, it was not about civil rights. It was about human rights and freedom, and we knew that. So this is what the book is about, and there's some people in there who are well-known and some who are lesser known, and some, frankly, I hadn't heard about until I started doing the research for the book.
What I just earlier today, as a matter of fact, we started this program in our first hour in conversation with Corinne Jean-Pierre, the first African American, as you know, to be press secretary in the White House, certainly the first African American woman to have that esteemed position, and I had a chance to ask her a few questions about how it feels and how she's navigating being a black woman behind that podium, trying to navigate every day through this maze of White House correspondence and all their pushback and all their tough questions. She's a big girl. She can handle it. But it just reminds me, again, as we commence Black History Month tomorrow, the first day of February, that black women have always had their say, even when people turn deaf ears to what they were saying. What is it that you think? I'm watching my clock. Let me do this. I'm about to ask a question, and I see now you only have 20 seconds to respond. That ain't fair to you. So let me frame where I want to go, Dr. Janet Dewar Bell, and we'll get your take on the other side. I want to hear from you in this moment. What it is that the nation would do well to hear from the voices of black women. You can connect that answer in real time to those voices from the past that you highlight in this new book, Blackbird Singing. But what is it that the country would do well to hear right now in this critical moment, given all that we're up against, specifically from black women? We'll hear from one black woman, Dr. Janet Dewar Bell, in response to that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Girl, I have a secret. When I get stressed out, I get sweaty. That's why I use Secret Clinical Antiperspirant. It's like my own secret weapon. For 72 hours, I get Secret's strongest protection against sweat caused by stress, heat, and activity, because you know how crazy life can get. Plus, it's made with advanced odor fighters that don't just cover up smelliness. They help prevent it from happening in the first place. Believe me, if I weren't wearing Secret, I'd be a hot, smelly mess. Thankfully, Secret works.
You like your style, guy? At KBLA Talk 1580. We are unapologetic about amplifying the voices of those who have historically been left out of the conversation. As we approach our 3rd anniversary this summer, the problem with talk radio in Southern California specifically, and America more broadly, is virtually unchanged. All day, all night, all white. We make no apologies for our prime audience, but true to the best of our tradition, we're committed to expanding justice and freedom for all. So when we receive messages from listeners like Neil, we just smile.
I realize that I'm not your target demographic, but I love listening to your station as it is the only progressive station on the dial.
That's us. Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Spilled your drink? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
It does indeed with Dr. Janet Dewart-Bell. Her new book is called Blackbird Singing, Inspiring Black Women's Speeches from the Civil War to the 21st Century. I am honored to have her on. The question I posed a moment ago, let's jump into that, Dr. Janet Dewart-Bell. What is it that the country in this critical moment, and I don't need to unpack that for you, would do well to hear from the voices of black women in real time, or for that matter, from the voices of black women in this text?
Yes, it's been a consistent theme of black women who've been speaking out, and that is, and I carried it forward from my previous book, Lighting the Fires of Freedom. Mm-hmm. When you look at the black women, they speak with authenticity, courage, and purpose. You know, it's hard to summarize, but we start there, but they also speak with love and with commitment to everyone. Their struggles for freedom and their fights for freedom are fights that lift all boats. It's not a narrow fight. I would say I describe myself as a black feminist. Mm-hmm. By that, I am a feminist, but I have no beef with black men or with anyone else, really, other than to say that the struggle that black women have is the same struggle that black men have. Mm-hmm. And so we have to move forward as partners, as I did with my late husband, Professor Derek Bell. I always have to lift him up,
mm-hmm.
of course.
Of course.
But the women who spoke really spoke out, and they spoke out. And if we listen carefully, and I'm sure you did, but others as well, to Judge now Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, when those Lilliputians were trying to put her down, they were trying to really diminish her. It was not a question about qualifications. It's not a question about qualifications for Christine Gay and others. It's a question that they're trying to use the fact, just in terms of race and sex, to diminish people, to put them down, to destroy what they have to say. But as Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson spoke, she would obey the rule of law without fear or favor. And when you look at these women, many of whom did not have the opportunity to have the same kind of education that you and I have had and that Judge Jackson and others have had, they were self-educated. They had phenomenal memories because some of them could, not all of them, but if you go back to Sojourner Truth, who could not read or write, but she spoke with such eloquence and power that you just had to listen to what she said. And so often her contribution is reduced to, ain't I a woman? But some people, the historian Nell Painter and others would say that she really said, because she was well-spoken, aren't I a woman? And because that's the way people would argue that people spoke during that time. So you have Sojourner Truth, who, by the way, that's the cover of Blackbird's Singing. She is really the...
Oh, I see it, yes.
She is the genesis of the spirit of this book. And so it's just, she says that when she comes out to say, quote, a mite about women's rights, she said, I'm sitting among you to watch, and every once in a while I'll come out and tell you what time of night it is. Some people will say what kind of day it is. But, because the lives of Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman overlap, people often confuse them or conflate their stories. But their contributions, as are the stories of the other women in Blackbirds, are very distinct. And I just, if you would allow me, I just wanted to read just a little section from what was recorded by historian Sarah Hopkins Bradford, who wrote Harriet, the Moses of her people, in a successful effort to raise funds to save Harriet Tubman's house when she was in danger of losing it in 1886. And this is a direct quote from the book. For, said she, I had reasoned this out of my mind. There was one of two things I had a right to, liberty or death. If I could not have one, I would have the other. For no man should take me alive. I should fight for my liberty as long as my strength lasted, and when the time came for me to go, the Lord would let them take me. And so, without money and without friends, she started on through unknown regions, walking by night, hiding by day, but always conscious of an invisible pillar of cloud by day and a fire by night, under the guidance of which she journeyed or rested. And to know the dangers that she was in, which is the dangers people had in the civil rights movement, and as we fought for black freedom in this country, it says, she went on to say, without knowing whom to trust or how near the pursuers might be. This is the author writing about her, saying she carefully felt her way, and by her native cunning or by God-given wisdom, she managed to apply to the right people for food and sometimes for shelter, though often her bed was only the cold ground and her watcher the stars at night. These women are determined, and they set the foundation for other women over the centuries, over the decades, and what they had to say, and what little we were written about them at that time. There was could have been much more. We need to pay heed to, because they were not taking they were not taking their lives or the lives of their people for granted. By that, they fought against oppression, and they knew that they had to. That was not just about them; it was about the future. So when you say, what should we pay attention to now? And your campaign for climate justice is right on point. It's not just about us. It's never just been about us, the contemporary people. It's
That's
about the future of our children, of our earth.
Yeah. I love that passage you read. I'm so glad you took the liberty to do so. I'm sitting here with goosebumps just listening to you read
That's
that.
so nice.
No, read that passage. Let me ask this question. You mentioned your husband, the late great Derek Bell. I want to come back to that in just a second. And I got a couple questions I want to ask about that.
Of course.
But I did an anthology myself some years ago, and it came down to who we were going to put on the cover of this book. And you have this book focusing on all these brilliant people, and somebody's got to be on the cover. So of all the women you could have chosen to put on the cover, you chose for this book Blackbird Singing, Sojourner Truth. You mentioned that a moment ago. Tell me why and how you came to that decision to put her on the cover.
Partly, it's her image that I look at every day. The cover is actually part of a sculpture that I have in my apartment, which is an inspiration to me because I look at that. It's stylized, of course, but what it says to me is, as Martin Luther King says, you don't have to have money.
That's
you don't
right.
have a degree.
That's right.
You know, what you have to have is a commitment, and you have to have a heart full of love. And of the people, and I think without, there's, we probably know less of her in some ways than we do of some other people in the book. But I think it's not just her as a woman, which she was, and we have to remember these are real flesh and blood women, but also a spirit and inspiration, and I think God-given, a God-given prophet.
No.
And that's why I chose her for the book. I figured no one could really argue with that choice. It was a pretty good choice.
No, it's hard to argue with Sojourner Truth on the cover of a book called Blackbird Singing. You can't argue with that at all. And I'm glad you chose it. I was just curious as to all the person.
Of course.
I mean, you were talking moments ago about Harriet Tubman, so you could have put Harriet Tubman on the cover for that matter.
That's true. I could have done that.
No, but
I could have done that as well.
No, but I love the choice. I just wanted to know how you came to that, and you've answered that question. Let me circle back down to Derek Bell, who you referenced earlier. Your name, of course, is Janet Dewitt Bell. Her husband was the late, great Derek Bell, the father of critical race theory. And you mentioned his name, and it made me think about a couple of things. You described yourself as a black feminist, and you defined what you meant by that term.
Yes.
But as you said that, Janet Dewitt Bell, I'm thinking about your husband. I'm thinking about Derek Bell and how this black male was a black feminist himself in the sense that he left Harvard. For those who know his backstory, he's not just the father of critical race theory, and that alone is enough. Brilliant thinker. But for those who don't know this backstory, Derek Bell left Harvard as a tenured law professor because he would not give tenure to a black woman. That black woman eventually became Lonnie Guinier. But he left Harvard over a principled position, a principled stance about why they would not tenure a black professor at the Harvard Law School. But Harvard wasn't the first time he had done that. He did that at the University of Oregon. University of Oregon did the same thing. As I recall, it was an Asian American woman that he stood up for at Oregon. So in many respects, while you are a black feminist, you were married to a man who was also a black feminist in the sense that he stood up for women's rights. How and why? I mean, where did that come from? That sort of contribution, that sort of commitment, that courage, that character to put his own career on the line in defense of women. That's Derek Bell. Tell me about that.
Well, his mother was really a force to be reckoned with. His father, too. His father was a philosopher in one sense, and I'll say something about him in a second, but his mother was the one who really was the more vocal and outspoken person. Derek's parents raised 4 black children during Depression and around when World War II era. You know, Derek was born in 1930, and all 4 went to college. That was, and the parents did not graduate from college. The father worked 2 jobs to support the family, but really from Derek's mother and Derek's first wife. I give her the praise, Jewel Hairston Bell, who Derek was funny. He used to say he didn't know anything about dating. After Jewel died, he and I met, and then we got married relatively shortly after, because Jewel said, you don't know anything about being out here by yourself. You need a partner. And so she not only gave him permission to remarry, she gave him instruction. So I would say those were two. And then the third, he had the good fortune when he went to work for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund to work for a few great people. Robert L. Carter. He worked for Thurgood Marshall was the one that plucked him out of Pittsburgh and said, you need to come up. And Thurgood with his, Thurgood was a great, Thurgood Marshall. I never called him Thurgood. I always called him Mr. Justice Marshall. Let's be honest here.
Sure.
But at that time, everyone would call him Thurgood. And he said to Derek, what's a boy like you doing in Pittsburgh, not in a lawyer job? You need to come to New York. So after that, when the NAACP Legal Defense Fund hired the great Constance Baker Motley as their first attorney, that was Derek's mentor. So you can't go wrong with those three mentors.
Yeah.
But of the three women who were the strongest in his life before me, that would be his mother, Jewel Harrison Bell, and Constance Baker Motley. And so if you look in the back of some of those photographs of the integration of the universities of Georgia and Mississippi, you will see a very young and quite handsome Derek Bell, who was a young associate at that time. So that's what forged that, and he never had any doubt about his own capabilities, and that's the kind of thing that when you look at the people are trying to do now, trying to make us feel that no matter what we do, we're just not good enough. And Derek had the kinds of parents and kind of upbringing that said, you're as good as anyone. Actually, they said, you're probably better than some people. But Derek equality was good enough, And that's how he became who he was. And it was forceful and had no doubt that women were at least equal to men. Now, I sometimes say that Derek was a better feminist than I am, because he actually thought women were superior to men, and I disagreed with him. We had actually friendly conversations in public about that, where I would be on the side saying, no, I just want to be equal. I don't want to be superior. And but he had met some of these women now who seem to be selling their soul to for power. Mostly some white women, but some black women and other women of color. But no, Derek had very good upbringing. He had people telling him, "You can do this." In fact, he was so confident that many people, when you're a lawyer, you can get reciprocity from one state to another. Derek was like, he took all the tests. He was admitted by test to every every bar that he belonged to. Just why not? Just because.
Yeah, I want to probe this when we come forward. And I'm sure the audience heard the same thing I just heard, that you were arguing with your husband, the preeminent scholar Derek Bell, about women being superior to men. I could hear a lot of women all across the country saying, right on, brother, when you said that. They're taking Derek Bell's side, but you would argue with Derek Bell about women being superior to men. I'm curious as to his argument, and I'm curious as to your argument. This audience knows, many in this audience know, that I had a fight with Maya Angelou for almost 27 years, almost 30 years. We fought about what is the greatest virtue, love or courage. And every time we got together, every time we talked over 27 years, we fought about that question. What is the greatest virtue, love or courage? I took love. Maya had courage, but we fought about it literally for 27 years, the greater virtue, love or courage. Here you come now with this story of you and Derek Bell arguing about whether women are in fact superior to men. I want to hear his argument. I want to hear your argument, and then we'll talk more about Blackbird Singing with the author of that book, Dr. Janet Dewart Bell, who you're listening to right now, and I'm glad about it, on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Virginia, a civil rights figure is now immortalized in Richmond. The city yesterday unveiled a statue of Jane Cooper Johnson. In 1961, as a 12-year-old girl known as Daisy Jane Cooper, she was the first black student to attend West Hampton Junior High School. The 12-foot-high statue is called Strides. American travelers are being warned about visiting Jamaica. The State Department issued a travel advisory last week saying violent crimes like homicides, armed robberies, and sexual assaults are common. The department added that high-level or specialized health care may not be available in Jamaica. Anyone planning to travel to the popular Caribbean destination is being told to avoid secluded situations and get traveler's insurance. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Another poor defensive effort by the Lakers led to another loss Tuesday night. The Lakers gave up 138 points to Atlanta. They lost by 16. Over the past two games, the Lakers have given up a combined 273 points. The Lakers did not have Anthony Davis. He sat out with a sore left hip and a sore Achilles tendon. Austin Reeves led the Lakers with 28 points. LeBron had 20 points and 8 assists. The Lakers are back under 500 for the 14th time this season. They're at Boston Thursday night. The Clippers are back in action tonight. They're at Washington. Game 4 of their 7-game road trip, 4 p.m. tip-off. Former Lakers guard Rajon Rondo is in trouble. Rondo was arrested after he was pulled over on a highway in southern Indiana. Rondo was charged with illegal possession of a gun and drugs possession. Rondo helped the Lakers win the NBA championship in 2021. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Now you can get a Walmart Plus membership, plus not pay for it, because it's included with Straight Talk wireless plans. You get free delivery with Walmart Plus, plus a Paramount Plus subscription included. Plus, you pay less for gas. That's a lot of pluses.
Only Straight Talk gives you unlimited 5G data and Walmart Plus included on select plans for free.
Straight Talk Wireless, available at Walmart.
Requires service on Gold or Platinum Unlimited. One offer per eligible account. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. Additional terms apply.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that Febreze car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency on low Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
Jackson Hewitt has a plan to get your tax refund fast with a buck here, buck there. Here a buck, there a buck, everywhere a buck.
You don't have to wait weeks for your tax refund. Get money sooner with a no-fee refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt.
On this loan, there's a money today guarantee. E-I-E-I-DO.
Don't settle for chicken feed. Get fast bucks at Jackson Hewitt today. No-fee refund advance loans by Republic Bank offered to eligible clients. Money today guarantee if approved for a loan on a prepaid card. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Dr. Janet Dewitt-Bell, who I am honored to have on this program. Her new book is called Blackbird Singing, Inspiring Black Women's Speeches from the Civil War to the 21st Century. And we'll get back to that text in just a second. But she said something moments ago that has titillated me, and I'm sure many of you in the audience as well. And I want to take her temperature on this. So you were saying earlier, Janet Dewitt-Bell, that you and your late, great, brilliant husband, Derek Bell, would oftentimes have these debates about whether women are in fact superior to men. And the irony is that the brother in the conversation, the male, Derek Bell, made the argument that women are in fact superior to men. You took the opposite. You said, no, we just want to be equal. But give me, I'm just curious now, as I said earlier, reminded me of the argument that Maya and I had, Maya Angelou, for 27 years about love versus courage. So give me Derek Bell's thesis, and then give me your thesis. I want to hear both.
Derek felt that given the opportunities, women would outperform men. But he was also informed a bit by his experience, and I think he became more hardened in his position, to be honest, in his experience at teaching at Harvard. He started at Harvard in 1969. He was tenured in 71. That was at the time when Harvard had admitted first substantial group of people of color and women. Mm-hmm. And that time, women were really poorly treated. And Derek took end because both Derek and Jewel were sensitive to that fact. The women knew all races, knew that they could come to Derek Bell any time of day and night, and their honor would be intact, and they could tell him their stories. And he took up their causes. And so he was adored by women. So I would try to, and Jewel did that too. We say, okay, you have a little bit of that halo effect from all these women who, to this day, if you meet them, they still adore him, and with good reason. But I was brought up by this mother who was self-educated. She only went to 8th grade. She was born and raised in rural Arkansas, but she was adamant about equality and that we were all equal. I think back on my life with my mother. I adore her. I have dedicated this book to her. Mm-hmm. But my mother was the kind of person who would see beauty in everybody, and the rest of us are going, where, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. But her thing was equality, and she said, you don't get points for thinking of people. You recognize people's differences, but not in simplistic ways. But differences did not mean negative or positive necessarily. By that, she's talking about physical differences in sex, and she was way ahead of her time in terms of differences in sexuality. And at one point, my oldest brother, who's 5 years older than I, he had this was 40 years ago. He hired a lesbian for his office manager, and I hired a gay man for my assistant. And we were talking to my mother. My mother's looking at us, and she's blinking. And then she said, it's like we were thinking, oh, she's going to say, oh, that's nice. Give us some sort of strokes for being enlightened or something. My mother looked at us, and she said, you don't get any credit for treating people like people. And that's so that hard position on equality, which is what I took with Derek. But he was so funny, and the funny story was in law schools and other schools you hire fellows,
right?
And so for like 12 years in a row, all of his fellows were women. And I said, Derek, you can't just hire women. And he looked at me with those big, beautiful eyes, and he said, and why is that? And I said, because it's not right. And he shrugged his shoulder, and I said, okay, I'm going to take a picket sign, and I'm going to picket your office until you hire a man. And he looked at me, and he said, you wouldn't do that. And then he looked again, and he said, yes, you would.
Yes, you would.
But the women who had formed a bond over these 12 years were like, why are you doing this to us? We had our little sorority going here. You messed us up.
Now here's where I side with Derek Bell, Professor Bell, the late great Derek Bell. Here's where I side with him. I have long believed, and I've learned this over many miles. I've long believed, though, that if you want something done right, you ask a woman to do it. I stand with him on that. If you want it done right, ask a woman to do it. Ask a black woman to do it if you want it done right. So I stand with him in that regard, but I hear your point about...
May I say something?
Sure, you can.
It's not so much superior
right.
in terms of human beings. It's superior performance.
Okay.
We know that if we make one mistake, that they're going to concentrate on that mistake and not the overall good works that have been done. And we see it now with all of this so-called plagiarism stuff. It's like Bill Ackman's wife can make mistakes.
Yeah.
But other people are they try to criminalize the behavior for honest mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Black women know that if we get the opportunity, most of us do, we're going to perform.
No,
we're going to outperform you if we can.
No, I received that phrase, superior performance. As a matter of fact, I was in a meeting with somebody yesterday who's probably listening right now. I'm not going to call his name out.
Okay.
But I literally was in a meeting yesterday. My mind just went to this. And we were talking about a particular opening or openings. And this person in the meeting said, but we have to hire women for this. I'm like, why is that? And he explained how women just do this job better. And so he left the meeting on his way to go find some women for these opportunities, because women, to your point, engage and offer you a superior performance. So you're not the only one that feels that way. There are a bunch of us men who feel that way as well. But let me just say this. I want to go back to this phrase, though, because you said something a moment ago that just arrested me. Every day, as you've heard me say before, I leave this studio smarter every day than when I came in. And every day I walk out of here with 2 or 3 things that just resonate with me for the next 24 hours that somebody said to me. It sometimes happens in the first hour, sometimes second hour, sometimes the third hour, sometimes all 3 hours. But I've just heard the phrase I'm going to hold on to for the rest of this day and wrestle with and marinate on and process. And it is the phrase that you just quoted from your mother. You do not get credit for treating people like people.
Oh, she
Lord
believed
Jesus, that's a strong line.
Yes, it's so funny. I say I feel sorry for people who never met my mother, as I feel sorry for people who never had a chance to meet Derek.
Sure.
I cannot believe my good fortune. How those extraordinary people who I still look up to the heavens and try to live up to the examples that they set.
That is the phrase of the day. You do not get credit for treating people like people. Her book is called Blackbird Singing, Inspiring Black Women's Speeches from the Civil War to the 21st Century. I want to delve into a couple of these speeches. I'll let her pick herself. And I'm curious as to why those speeches made the cut. Obviously, there are a whole lot more speeches that she could have put in here, but there are a handful that actually made the cut. I'm going to ask Janet Dewett-Bell, Dr. Janet Dewett-Bell, when we come forward, to just unpack a couple of the speeches in this book and why they, in fact, made the cut. You're listening to Janet Dewitt-Bell right now on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties: classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
Watching my time is getting away from me. I've enjoyed this conversation immensely with Dr. Janet Dewitt-Bell, author of the new book, Blackbirds Singing, Inspiring Black Women's Speeches from the Civil War to the 21st Century. Whenever you do a book like this, there's always more content than you have space for. I wonder if you might just cue up a couple of speeches that did, in fact, make the cut, and tell me why.
Okay, I wanted to look at some of the themes of the women. The women talked in many instances about peace, and getting back to your conversation with Maya Angelou about love. Mm-hmm. And there's one speech in there by the great Barbara Lee, and this was done in 2004 at the famous Riverside Church, where she's talking about, she says, "I leave you now again with the words of Dr. King when he spoke from this pulpit in 1967, as he stood firm on behalf of the gospel of peace, as he asked those gathered here to look beyond Vietnam. He said, 'If we do not act, we shall surely be dragged down the long, dark, and shameful corridors of time, reserved for those who possess power without compassion, might without morality, and strength without sight.'" And he went on to say, "The choice is ours. And though we might prefer it otherwise, we must choose in this crucial moment of human history." Hello.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And then there are two others, if we have time. I'd like to mention
Sure,
Audre Lorde.
Absolutely. Oh, yes.
And end with Maya Angelou. I want to read a little bit. Audre Lorde, of course, who talked about age, race, sex, and class, and women redefining difference. And she says she never took the easy route. She really her language is very precise and it's very provocative. And she says much of Western European history conditions us to see human differences in simplistic opposition to each other: dominant, subordinate, good, bad, up, down, superior, inferior. In a society where the good is defined in terms of profit rather than in terms of human need, there must always be some group of people through systematized oppression can be made to feel surplus, to occupy the place of the dehumanized inferior. Within this society, that group is made up of black and third world people, working class people, older people, and women. And I'll end with this one complicated paragraph that she says. I mean, there's so much good stuff there, but she says, this is Audre Lorde talking, as a 49-year-old black lesbian feminist socialist mother of two, including one boy, and a member of an interracial couple, I usually find myself a part of some group defined as other, deviant, inferior, or just plain wrong. Traditionally, in American society, it is the members of oppressed, objectified groups who are expected to stretch out and bridge the gap between the actualities of our lives and the consciousness of our oppressor. I mean, and she goes on, it is just incredible where she talks about the responsibility that we have to, as oppressed, to teach the oppressors their mistake and to teach people who would be oppressors their actual right path to go. I have a term for it that she certainly did not mention, and probably harsher than she would say, is that when we look at the dominance of the white male structure, those who might think that they are superior, and you see in terms of climate and other things where that we have to break our murder-suicide pact with them. We say you are leading us down the wrong way, and you are taking our children and our future with you, and we must stand in the breach.
Yep, that's it. Stand in the breach. Her name is Janet Dewart-Bell, Dr. Janet Dewart-Bell. Her book is called Blackbird Singing, Inspiring Black Women's Speeches from the Civil War to the 21st Century. I can tell Dr. Janet Dewart-Bell right now that I'm getting boxes of these books to give to every woman colleague here at my home station in L.A., KBLA Talk 1580, those on the air, those in the building. This will be my gift to every one of them. It's a powerful, powerful book with these speeches by these brilliant black women like Audre Lorde, Barbara Lee, and others. Our remaining moments with Dr. Janet Dewart-Bell when we come forward on KBLA. Nope, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley. There we go.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chucha's Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
He's rooting for everybody black. Everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Just 3 minutes left here. 3 minutes left with our guest, Dr. Janet Dewitt-Bell, author of the book Blackbirds Singing, Inspiring Black Women's Speeches from the Civil War to the 21st Century. Janet Dewitt-Bell, what do you hope the takeaway will be from those persons who read this book? And I assume you're going to tell me that you agree with me that this book is not just for black women, although it features the speeches of brilliant black women.
Yes, I do agree with you, and what I want people to take away from this is inspiration. And you talk about you talking to Maya Angelou, what is love or courage, or love and courage. And so I wanted to end, I believe in letting the women that I write about, that's part of my scholarship, speak for themselves.
Sure.
So I'd like to read just a little bit about Maya Angelou,
sure.
and you can let me know when we've run out of time.
Okay.
Maya Angelou, who's a contemporary of Derek's, by the way, and I write in that she not only knew why the caged bird sings, she set free the aspirations of countless people, not only in the arts, but in social justice, working with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King at the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And let me add that she was modest and kind. When I started producing in 69, 70, she came on the show that I produced often, and she was always just lovely.
Oh, yes.
And many of us remember that she delivered the poem on the Pulse of Morning at the 1993 inauguration of President Bill Clinton, and was later awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Barack Obama in 2010. And her poem, just part of it, was an anthem of hope, ending with these words: "For a new beginning, do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. Here, on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning." Maya Angelou's words epitomize the themes throughout Blackbird Singing, speaking truth to power, along with calls for decency, compassion, peace, justice, freedom, and love. And speaking of that, Tavis Smiley, I have to say, you know I love you. I say that I think you're great. You have done so much for so many of us, and your generosity needs to be acknowledged as well. So I thank you, and I love you, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share Blackbird Singing with you and your audience.
I love you back, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. I just love you. The book is called Blackbird Singing, Inspiring Black Women's Speeches from the Civil War to the 21st Century. You made the connection between Maya Angelou and Dr. King. The greater connection, as you well know, was that Maya was born on April 4. Dr. King assassinated on April 4. So her birthday is the same day as his assassination, and she was in her kitchen, at her brownstone in Harlem, making a special dinner for her friends for her birthday that night when word came that Dr. King had been assassinated in Memphis, and so she was forever connected to that date for the rest of her life. But I love the connection between the two of them. The book, once again, is called Blackbird Singing, Inspiring Black Women's Speeches from the Civil War to the 21st Century. The author is Dr. Janet Dewart Bell. I'll talk to you soon. Stay strong. Good to have you on this program once again.
Thank you very much.
Love you much. When we come forward, the bird watcher, Christian Cooper, on Tavis Smiley.
KBLA 1580 Santa